Welcome back, friends. Train Sim World 3. Got a special one for you today. We're doing a rail tour on the East Coastway. There are a couple of these that you can run on the East Coastway. We are in the Class 31, one of my favourite locos. This came as a DLC for the Tees Valley line, you will remember, some time ago. Let's get everything set up. We'll talk about it a bit more. Let's get the safety systems on. We need some lights. I think that's it. Let's turn this alarm off. So we got our co-pilot John with us today for the ride. Here's the 31, looks pretty good. So this is running down from Lewis down to Eastbourne. It's a good run. Ooh, sounds good. We've got to wait for this train to leave first before we'll get a green light. Got to take a screenshot there for posterity. So now that the add-ons manager is back, well, not back, all the DLC is back. The add-ons manager for the PS5 has allowed me for the first time in a very, very long time to be able to see all the DLC that I've got for Train Sim World 3. And I was looking down the list and thought, I've not run the 31 for a long time. Let's do that. Let's run the 31, but let's run it somewhere different. So I remembered those rail tour services. Now, you have the opportunity to run this rail tour with quite a number of your DLC locos. I think pretty much all the BR Blue diesels are available for this. We're tailed, not top and tailed, we're tailed by a 66 because of course when you get to Eastbourne it needs something to pull us the other way. So I don't know whether the 66 actually also gives us a push. I'm not sure whether it does that on the way down to Eastbourne or whether we're running just under the 31. I suspect we're running just under the 31. But we've got a 66 on the back, just in case of emergencies. As we wait for this light, we've got a yellow. So we'll start to move off. It's just such a pleasant run. I've set the weather to be a sunny day, so you get the full benefit. But if you haven't run this service, and you've got East Coastway, give it a try. And as I said, there's so many different diesels, if you own them, that you can run on this. You can run it several times with different locos, it's quite good. So, we've got a slow departure out of Lewis. It's a lovely loco, this one. And again, this is another loco that reminds me of being a kid. Used to see these up and down all the time, especially in the BR Blue. Up in the northwest, where I'm based. So we've got to go via, which is first, which is Berwick. I know I'm late to the party, but anybody know why the East Coastway has got many stations and places named after Scottish locations? Berwick is Scottish. We've got Hampden Park. We've got a few others as well on the way down. Glind, or Glind, I don't know how you pronounce that. Is it Glind? Glind? That sounds Scottish. There must be some connection that I'm not aware of. I don't know the East Coastway. It's quite far from me. Brighton, that end, and Eastbourne is quite a bit of a trek for me. I've not travelled on this one in real life. I just saw some Scottish connection. There must be somewhere. Anyway, you can answer that in the comments if you do know. We're just coming up to speed. Got to keep an eye on the signals. We've got a yellow because I think that Electrostar is still in front of us somewhere, but no doubt he will get up to speed and disappear. I'm not going to go up to the speed limit fully today. We're going to enjoy it. Don't want to chase any lights if we don't need to. Give the passengers a nice smooth ride down to Eastbourne. They've all got the buckets and spades. They'll be getting a hot dog, an ice cream. Perfect day for going to the beach. Perfect. So this route, this East Causeway route, is very, very popular with players. It always has since it was first announced. It's been out a couple of years now. There is the 313 DLC as well for East Causeway, which is another train that I'm not familiar with in real life, but it's an absolute pleasure to drive it on the East Causeway. That was a DLC that came out for this. There's quite a bit to do with East Causeway if you get the full route and the DLC. So if you're new to TSW and you're wondering, you know, because I get a lot of questions, you know, what, I'm new to TSW, there's a sale on, what are good routes? And that's a very difficult question to answer, isn't it? Because a lot of it is down to, well, I think, is down to your own personal preference. If you've no interest in the German stuff, for example, you're not going to buy anything from Germany, but I might tell somebody that, you know, Chemnitz is a good route. So it's a difficult one. This one, I like the East Causeway, but I think when it came out, I absolutely played it to death. I did, and I think after that, it became a little bland for me. It's a very good route, as I said. Don't get me wrong, but I think because I've played it over and over and over, it became a little bland. But now, when I come out of it and then dip back in, and the add-ons manager is allowing me to do that, it's a lot of fun, and that's why I wanted to run this one today, because this half of the route from Lewes down to Eastbourne, I don't think I've run this section as much as the Brighton to Lewes section, because a lot of the services do start from Brighton, so you do run to Lewes even if you're going down the branch line there. But I do like this section best, so it's nice we got this rail tour. But it's a difficult question. I don't know what the best routes are. I have my own favourites, but for different reasons. I think it's personal choice. And what I always say to people is, just go down the channel. I think pretty much every route and every DLC is covered somewhere on the channel. So have a look down. If there's something you're considering buying, have a look down, see what videos we've got, have a watch of those. A lot of them are first looks as well, so you can see my initial reaction to a route or DLC, and then you know, see what you think. There's a lot of stuff now. We're several years into TSW, so a lot of stuff does go in the sale. So there's lots of opportunities to take screenshots, but there's lots of opportunities to build your collection, and this is great. We've got a few people on board. We'll scoot down to the back of the train. I can show you the 66 on the back, just giving us a belt and braces. 66 136 with its tail lamp, flash it away. The familiar engine sound of the 66. It's funny, when I was on Preston Station, if you saw my video that is on the feed, I'll put a link to it up in the top right. I was on Preston Station just by chance on Friday as I was walking past. I saw the Pullman come through. You'll see that video via that link. But also while I was in there, I didn't have my eyes on the platforms, but I heard from a distance, I could hear a 66 coming in. It's got a very distinctive engine, hasn't it? And a 66 came into one of the platforms at Preston, just waited quite some time for a red light to clear, and then it was away. But yeah, a very distinctive engine sound. Quite easy to drive, this 31, which is another thing you should consider if you're new to TSW. Which trains, which locos are fairly easy to drive. Some of them are more difficult than others, of course, but these BR Blue diesels all tend to drive the same, so I always quite like these. Very nostalgic. We've got just under 3 miles to Berwick, which is our go via. It sounds really good, doesn't it? Quite a straight piece of track this, isn't it, down to Eastbourne from Lewis. Not many twists and turns in this section. So, good one for a rail tour. Probably left that horn a little bit too late at that crossing, to be fair. I didn't see a whistle board though. The gates were down though, so everybody should have been behaving themselves. Making good progress, as I said. Wasn't planning to absolutely go top speed down here. We do have a yellow coming up. Yeah, plenty of people on board. Not as many as I would have thought, but it's nice to see people on there. All enjoying this nostalgic trip on the 31. The old coaches with the springy seats. The thing about these coaches is, right, it didn't matter how clean they were inside, did it? If you took the palm of your hand and you slammed it down on one of those seats, you'd see the dust come up, wouldn't you? I don't know if you ever did that. Those of you old enough to have travelled quite regular on these coaches. 31153. That reminds me, when this DLC came out on Tees Valley, I don't know what made me do it, but every time I drove a 31 on Tees Valley, I wrote the number down on a sheet of paper, just like a train spotter. I wanted just to see how random the numbers were and how many different 31s we got. I filled the whole page up and gave up after that. There's just too many to write down. I don't know why I did that. I've not done that with any other train in TSW, but for some reason, you know, I wanted to know on Tees Valley, are we getting the same sort of 5 or 6 numbered 31s driving up and down? But it wasn't. It was completely random in the end. I spent more time writing down the numbers than I did driving the thing for a time. So we have gone through Berwick, as you saw, and now down to Eastbourne. We've got 6.8 miles. That won't take us long at all. Due in at 11 minutes past 1, so we've got just under, what, 15 minutes, just under 15 minutes to cover that distance, which should be fine. Up to 74 miles per hour. Yeah, very, very flat. We've got a 0.6 gradient at the moment, but I don't think it gets much steeper than that on this stretch of the route. But we should still cover that 6 miles in no time. Real pleasure to drive this and all the BR diesels. I've probably spent most of my time in these, I would say, if I was to look at my profile. So we do have a yellow, because we have a 35 miles per hour coming up in 2.3 miles. Probably got to be slightly early, you know. We may get held just outside Eastbourne. There's the warning for the yellow. It's a single yellow. So the red, fortunately the red is over a mile from there, so we've got time to slow down sufficiently. But what are some of your favourite DLCs? Because, you know, we're all playing TSW, we've played it for such a long time. I think we've all got our own favourites, even though, you know, it's difficult sometimes to put our finger on exactly what we like the best. But let me know down below what your favourite is. what is it you've played consistently since it's been released in TSW? Is there something you keep going back to? Maybe you've got your local route in TSW already. I know a couple of you said in the comments you've got, you know, your local route is Southeastern High Speed, so is that where you tend to play most of your TSW, or even though you've got a local route you just tend to randomise it? When a new route comes out, as I mentioned with East Coastway, I tend to play it quite a lot the first few weeks to get used to the stations, the route itself, do a little bit of route learning, get used to the braking if we've got a new loco, for example, or train. But then after that, it goes back into the pile, which is why the add-ons manager has been good, because then I can just scan down, and every night when I go on to TSW, because I play most days, I can just go in and think, right, I'm going to play that now. And it just, you know, there's so much now. I can pick something at random and really enjoy it, because I might not have played it for, you know, a few weeks or even a month or two. But yeah, let me know what your favourites are down the bottom. Perhaps we can cover some of those in future videos and streams then. Because sometimes there's that much choice, it's difficult for me to pick what I'm going to put in a video or on the stream. That's how much choice we've got right now. And I've no doubt this year, with the rate the DLCs have been releasing, by the end of this year, you know, who knows how much additional DLC we're going to have. There's been so much coming out, hasn't there? Just this last month has been crazy. What do we have? We had the West Cornwall Steam Pack. We had the Loco Bundle 2. We had Mainz Koblenz, Niedertalbahn. So, and that's just March, I think, isn't it? I think that was all March. Crazy. So, I don't know what else is on the horizon. I can't remember what was on the roadmap. I think we're probably due a roadmap quite soon. But if you know, if the DLC continues at that pace, we're going to really be spoilt for choice. What was a big issue now, a nice issue to have, by the way, is going to become a bigger issue. But you know, Dovetail have taken on a number of third parties to develop content. We've had Rivet for quite some time. Niedertalbahn was TSG, wasn't it? Oh, we've got Midland Mainline coming up, which is Skyhook, I think, isn't it? That's Skyhook Games. So these third parties are starting to release routes and DLCs. So if everybody's working on something at all times, there's going to be quite a bit of DLC releasing, isn't there? A lot of stuff we don't know about yet that's coming. So it's great. The only thing it might do is burn a hole in your wallet or your purse. So just, you know, save up in case there's one you want. And of course, you know, the others, the ones you don't get, you can always get in the sale, can't you, at some point. This one would be a bargain in the sale. I've really enjoyed this run today in this. So we got just under 3.5 miles down to Eastbourne, and then we can get everybody dropped off, get them on their way, and then off video the 66 will no doubt run us back the other way. Well, unless the 66 is there actually to no, it's not gonna. I was gonna say, do we uncouple the 31 and it pulls the coaches out of the station to let the 31 out, then pushes the coaches back in again? It doesn't do that, does it? It actually does run the other way as a 66 with the 31 on the back, no doubt. I think that's the way. So if there's anybody waiting at Eastbourne to go the other way, they're going to get a rail tour with a 66. I think actually, if you don't own any other DLCs and you've got East Coastway, I think this service does run top and tailed with a 66, as I remember. So as standard, this runs with a 66. So it's a strange one, isn't it? a 66 running a passenger service. But it's still good because the 66 is great as well. I love the 66. I would like a bit more variety of freight loco, I must admit, for the UK stuff. Which is modern day. Maybe we'll get something. But it's a good train. Now that branch there, going up there, I believe that if you were able to drive up that route there, you would end up connecting with the Brighton main line. So that's like a little shortcut there, without having to go all the way to Brighton. There will be a name for that branch, but I don't know it off the top of my head. You locals of East Coastway and Eastbourne will know what that is called. But yeah, it hooks up with the Brighton main line, which we've also got, of course, in TSW. 1.8 miles to Eastbourne. How are we doing on time? Yeah, we've still got 6 minutes to get to Eastbourne, and only 1.7 miles. We've got a yellow coming up, so I think we may get stopped outside Eastbourne, which is fine, absolutely fine. We can spend a little bit more time on board the 31 then. Hear all the creaking and squeaking in the cab. This is an old train, isn't it? It's very old now, but it's been put to good use today on this trip. That's 2 yellows. So again, if you're new to trains and new to TSW, 2 yellows, then a single yellow, then a red is the way that it works. Apologies to all you veterans out there, but it's always nice to see that we've got brand new players coming into TSW, so hopefully, I'm interested to know actually, the training centre, how is the training centre for new players? If any new players are watching and you've got this far, how is the training centre? Is that helping you learn to drive the locos? Because when you first come in, it can be a minefield, can't it? There's so much to learn, and this is why you should really stick to one route to begin with, get used to it before you move to another one. But the training centre was new for TSW3, so all the tutorials, etc., all go in there. And the way they've done the tutorials for veteran players, I'm not so sure, because if you're driving a freight loco, you seem to do the same. Well, passengers the same. You do exactly the same exercise for each train. So every tutorial is the same. You just change the train that you're driving. So, I mean, I kind of understand that in a way, because if you run it for one, your mindset is, well, if I did it for one, I can run the same for this. So they keep the route the same when you do the tutorial, just the train differs. Gets a little bit boring, if I'm allowed to say that, if you're a bit of a veteran player. But I'm just wondering, for the new players, I think it's useful, and I think it's useful for new players that they keep the same section of track and the same, couple to the freight train, uncouple, change the points, blah blah blah. If you're running a freight train in the training centre, I think it makes sense for new players. So let me know down below if that helps you. Do you go back to the training centre? Do veteran players keep going back to the training centre? I have done a couple of times for locals I've not run in ages, just to see what the startup procedure is and how we actually get going. But yeah, I think it's an interesting addition, and it's a route in its own right as well, which is quite nice. So, as predicted, here we are. We're 3 minutes early, so I assume there's either somebody in the platform ahead of us, or someone needs to cross in front of us, so we'll just wait at this red. This 31 is lovely, isn't it? It is, from the outside as well. I mean, the weathering on the outside. It's just what these diesels used to look like. Now the thing is, for a rail tour, I think they may have put a very clean 31 on the front, because it's being used especially for a rail tour. So things tend to be, you know, nice and clean, don't they, for the photographs, etc. This one's quite mucky, so I don't care. It looks good. We've got a yellow. Here's a 377 leaving Eastbourne. This is who we were waiting for. So we can creep in now. We've only got 700, just over 700 yards until the station. The old and the new together. I think that said on the signal we've got platform 2. So we'll just ease our way in. So I think we are going to be over on the left hand side of the station. I don't think it's going to cross us. Just trying to remember the platform layout at Eastbourne. Either way, we've made good time. We might just arrive a couple of seconds late. Well, nobody's going to argue over a couple of seconds. And that's mainly because I'm taking my time. I could go a little bit faster, but you know, what is the point? Safety's first. And this, ladies and gentlemen, is Eastbourne. A lovely day in Eastbourne awaits. There's quite a few passengers now as well, with the rush hour passengers as well. Of course, when this route released, it didn't have rush hour passengers. It's been applied afterwards. So once again, new players to TSW won't remember what it used to be like. It used to be quite devoid of passengers generally, if you're on console, that is. And we're on the PS5, of course. If you're on PC, it tended to have a little bit more passengers on the platforms and on the trains, because there was a bit more resources on your actual system to work with that, but it was toned down a little bit on consoles. Now, I mean, look at this. This is great. Lots of people waiting. They're not just waiting for us to come in, they're waiting for the next service to go out, the regular service. And we'll hop out in a second. We'll just have a look. See, there you go. Everybody's looking at the 31 in wonderment. Let's see how many people get out. There's plenty getting out as well, look. Take a shot of that. It's great to see. Now everyone jumps up at the same time. But look at that. That's great. It really is. Everybody wants to jump back on. There's another 377 coming in on the opposite platform there, you can see. So that service was right behind us. Good job we were on time. And that is our trip down to Eastbourne, pretty much. So thank you everybody for watching this. I hope you enjoyed it. If this is something you like seeing, just let me know. Give me a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe. We're on our way to 2K, of course. You've heard that before, but we're getting there. Thanks to everybody that has subscribed. Thanks to all our members and all our new members. And I'll be back quite soon with more TSW and some other shenanigans on other games. But until then, thanks for watching. Take care, everybody. See you on the next one.